Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first Ignite Esports podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dirty Honey Badger. I am a streamer and broadcaster for Ignite Esports. And I have Blame with me.
Hello, I'm Blame. I'm the content creation manager for Ignite Esports and also one of the hosts of this lovely, lovely podcast. So this month or this week, we are going to be joined by EMV and Konzi, two of our Csgo players, who will be joining us slightly later for a chat. Basically, just going through sort of their experiences at EpicLAN, what Epic was like for them, and also talking about ESEA a bit, as that is something they play quite a lot of as well. Before we get to that though, considering first episode, thought it made sense to sort of introduce the org. So Ignite Esports is the org that came from the Brutal Base org when that closed down. When was that, Badger? Do you remember?
It feels like it's 2 years ago or something.
Oh, it must be
maybe more, but
yeah, it's certainly been a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the org initially started out. It was just the R6 team, and Shies was the sole owner of the team, and the org, along with Dixon, was also involved fairly heavily with sort of the setting up of the org before we then expanded to what we are now.
Yeah.
So we have 3 main teams. We have a Valerian team, an R6 team, and a Csgo team, who obviously we will be having a chat with later today. The Valorant team is made up of Broken, Kanzo, Snupix, Lihal, Kane, and then Avex and Lucy are the staff for that team, who were meant to be playing a tournament today, however got scammed by the tournament and it got cancelled last minute. Yeah,
stuff that happens. Yeah. All that excitement wasted.
Exactly. Our 6 team, we've got Mitchell, Cryptic, Envy, Lethal, King, and then we've got Dine, who is also the coach, and Dixon is also a part of that, sort of helping for the management side of things, as well as being one of the org directors. Csgo team, we have Adam JC, Dreamy, Konzi, Envy, and Fred. Konzi and Envy will be talking to you later.
And there. Swedish guy. we did used to have a Rocket Team League though. Do we want to cover that real quick? What happened?
Yeah, we used to have a few Rocket League teams competing in RSC. RSC was made up of 6 different tiers. So we had quite a few teams in RSC actually. But we ended up sort of pulling out of that, and we're now sort of more focusing on that Valorant, R6 and Csgo. There was a short while we had a Halo team as well, but that didn't really sort of get too far.
I'm just waiting for them to start a Star Citizen team so I can finally be a pro.
So ready for you, Badger. The org staff as well. A lot of you, I'm sure, will be very familiar with Ethan, the bestest boy, our esports manager. Reggie, our social media manager. And Connor is still having technical issues. Sorry, I'm dying. Badger talk.
Yeah, well, we've been trying to set this up for the last 30 minutes, and as usual, when you do something for the first time, there's always something that has to go wrong. So we're trying to set it up and make it work. But yeah, we're having 2 guests on, and it's originally we were going to talk about other games, but since they actually had a pretty major POG moment recently, leading them onwards to greater victories, we're going to talk mostly about that, I feel like. And maybe break it down a bit, like get to know the players as they are.
Yeah, hoping we can have quite a good chat with some of them. I think for the moment, we are just going to be having Matt, unless Connor can get his audio sorted. We have a Connor cam, but I don't know if we have a Connor audio. So we'll see how this is going to go.
Bear with us, people. It's not easy doing this thing for the first time.
Stressful times, Badger. Stressful times.
The thing is, I was kind of excited to talk about CS:GO because I'm the elder of this organization clearly, because people are like turning 22 and 23 and are talking about how they're feeling old. But I turned 34 a couple of days ago. So when I was a teen was when Counter-Strike actually launched as a mod for Half-Life, and I used to play it a lot in high school, sitting in the classroom while the teacher wasn't looking. We were all playing CS versus each other.
Was that back in the 70s? Was it, Badger?
something like that. I think Chernobyl was powering our PCs back then, at least. But yeah.
Well, I think it's time that we bring in Matt and perhaps Connor if he's got audio working. I don't think he does, but we've got a cam.
It's always something.
Hello, Matt and Connor. Welcome.
Ah, you're right, guys. Yeah, I've been just stressing with Connor for the past like 5 minutes, see if we can get his see if we get that working. But well, yeah, I don't know. You can see him.
We can see him. Can he hear us, or is that what his issue is?
No, yeah, he can speak because I heard him in TeamSpeak. We're doing a little test, but he can't hear us, which doesn't make life easy.
No, it doesn't. Okay, fine. All right. Well, we'll start out with you. So, basically, who are you? What's your name? How old are you? Where are you from? You know, general sort of introduction. Just introduce yourself, basically.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Matt. I'm, member of the CS:GO team, as you very nicely introduced me as. I'm 21 years old. Where I'm from, that's a very good question. Answer depends on who you ask. Possibly. I say Australia, sounds more exotic, but
it does.
If we go off descendancy, probably Hungary. And yeah, that's me really.
You just claimed 2 exotic places at once, like Hungary and Australia.
Yeah, and then on my mother's side, I'm Croatian, so I've got a nice little trio going on.
Very exotic.
Interesting.
Nice and exotic. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what? Sorry, carry on, Badger.
No, I'm just curious. Where did you grow up then, mainly?
I grew up mainly in the UK, so I was born in Australia, born in Melbourne, and then moved over to the UK really young. I was 4 years old, I think. Okay. So yeah, I'm in that sense, I'm also kind of UK because I've grown up in English culture for 16 years now. So yeah.
So you had a good start with all that like heritage, and then you were ruined by British culture.
Exactly. Essentially, yeah, that's what's going on, and it comes to the age now where it's like, time to just get out.
Looking to get back to Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you sort of mentioned sort of briefly you're one of the CS:GO players. I wondered if you could sort of break that down a bit more, sort of what you do within the team. Personally, myself, I'm not all too familiar with CS:GO roles and such. So I wondered if you could break that down for all of us.
Yeah, sure. So kind of works. Do you want me to do others as well, or just my role?
Yeah, do everyone. Why not?
Yeah.
Introduce the team.
So I'll start with me. So I imagined, especially for Connor, so Connor's our IGL and the AWPer, and I imagine it's probably quite difficult for him because I see myself playing sort of different roles depending on the map. I just find it more comfortable. I think at the beginning of the season, I started out as more as an entry fragger, so someone who's going in first, taking that first contact. But I think towards the end of the season, I've sort of transitioned to a sort of lurk type player, making pressure on one side of the map, trying to draw rotations, find gaps in the enemy rotations, and so that's how it's kind of how it's worked out, and how I think you might have one role in a different team, but another it just works better this way, and I think that's just how it's worked out. We've just found it that way. To be better. So that's sort of my job. So as I mentioned, you've got Connor, who's the IGL, but also the AWPer. So he's got 2 very, very big jobs on his hand. Like he's got to have a lot of impact with the AWP, and he's got to be making the right calls early round, mid round, but in that regard, Adam helps him out a lot. So Adam kind of acts that sort of like secondary voice, if things are getting a bit hectic, a bit I don't know what to do, like maybe Connor's stuck for ideas. Adam is usually there to sort of, at least think up something and hopefully
Shot
make the
caller.
right call as well. Yeah, exactly. Just sort of like on the fly type stuff, like depending on, if we get a pick somewhere or if someone dies and we've lost map control, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, he's also a bit like me, bit of a lurk, but on the other side of the map. So if you look at any of our sort of T sides, you find him there, me on the other side, and then the other three in the middle. Not always the case, but that's probably how it's going. Depending, I don't know, that might completely change as well. Next season's a new season, and then you've got Fred and Dream, who are kind of like they're like where we're expecting to get most of our kills. I think they're going with the pack, playing off each other, trying to make space with Connor, and I think, and as you could probably tell from watching our games recently, Dreamy and Fred are the workhorses. They do
Absolutely
a lot of the fragging. Yeah, exactly.
How did you decide, like, out of all the competitive PvP games out there, how did you decide that CS:GO was your main choice?
That's a good question actually, because how did I? Depending on like others, I don't know. Because I played a bit of Siege, played a bit of Call of Duty when I was younger, although I phased out of that pretty quickly. Um, I was Call of Duty, like maybe MW2, but then after that, I'm a big Battlefield fan. I prefer Battlefield way more.
Did you ever get into the Battlefield competitive scene?
Nah, I never did. I wish I should though, because I have like a mini ego. I swear when I'm playing Battlefield, like I always feel like I do well when I play Battlefield.
It's one of those games.
Yeah, I know. It just feels good. Like when you're just running around like this huge map, just like getting multi-frag after multi-frag. You're like, oh, this is fun. But I don't know. CS has always just sort of appealed to me in the sense of I don't quite get that depth with any other game. Obviously we probably have Valorant now, and that is arguably has more depth because you've got all these different combinations of whatever you call them, champion. I don't know, whatever. Agents. There you go. But then again, I always thought I say that, but then Siege is similar in that regard, isn't it? You've got different agents and stuff, and I always view Siege as probably harder than CS in that sense because like the time to kill is like stupidly ridiculous compared to CS. I feel.
If you hit
But
your
for me,
headshots, it's not. Just click
exactly,
heads and you'll be fine.
true. It's true. As a wise friend of mine once said, Sanoski, you can't counter a headshot, and it's true.
You can't.
Um, but yeah, I think CS was just kind of that good mixture of the gunplay, like it's really satisfying. Hit that headshot, that one tap, or that spray transfer, but then also the tactical depth of strats and like I was talking about, like pulling rotations and just trying to get in the other team's heads. Like it's something I've really enjoyed. And it was the first, again, it's the first one I played when I was a kid, and I was talking to you guys before, and that just makes it a bit more special. Like it's the first one I played from a young age, so I think that kind of
And it's stuck with you.
resonates with me more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice.
So how do you, like, if I were to ask you a very difficult question, how would you predict to be, like, what would you predict to be the future of CS:GO compared to the other games that are coming up? Like we have Siege that is kind of coming back now with the new season that apparently is very good, and then we have Valorant that is a relatively new kid on the block compared. Do you think CS:GO has to evolve somehow, or do you think it has a stable platform that people will always come back to?
I mean, it's a good question because it's a question posed by a lot of different people. Because I think you probably see it on Twitter or by like talents and stuff like, and even pros always talk about there needs to be new map or a new this and stuff. But it's like people still play the game. Like everyone always sort of says like, oh, it needs to be this, needs to be that, but they will be jumping on the next day to keep playing. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just sort of that. People always like joke, don't they? Like, oh, I have 6 hours in this game, but I hate playing it. But they'll still play it. Like it's what it is, and I don't know. It's just that love-hate relationship of maybe this isn't the most perfect game, and definitely isn't. Like there's smoke bugs and sound bugs, and every update there's always something new to fix or FPS bugs. But people will still come back and play it because whether it's because they enjoy the game or because they want to not be successful, but just have that. Like I play CS or competitive gaming in general because I like winning. I don't like playing games like when it comes to CS. I don't like playing that sort of game casually. Like I have to play it competitively because that's how I enjoy it. I like that tension of like, playing and, oh, I've got to be better than this guy kind of thing. So, yeah, it is a good question. I don't think there's one answer for it because it just depends on.
It's a deliberately difficult question.
Yeah.
So,
That's why Badger's here. He's here to ask the awkward questions.
Exactly.
Perfect. Don't worry, I'll give some awkward answers back.
So you sort of mentioned briefly that you've sort of been playing CS a while. So how long have you been playing? Have you got sort of how much like history have you got in like competitive CS, like sort of previous teams, that sort of thing?
Well, so I started playing. I first picked up the game in December 2013. Got up on like one of those Christmas sales, so always good. And I didn't really play it much because I didn't actually have a PC at the time. I was like more into, I think I had an Xbox 360. But my dad lives in Norway, and I went up there, and my stepbrother was playing it. I was like, oh, this game looks kind of sick. As cliche as that is, every like CS:GO player profile is, oh, my brother got me into this game. But that's what it was. It was just me. That's how we like kind of bonded, because like it was the first time I met him that year, because it was the first time me visiting my dad in Norway,
Right.
and he was just playing. CS, and I was like, oh, this game looks really cool, and like I was just watching him play, and then I bought the game for myself, and then I had it on like a Dell laptop with like a i3 and like getting 40 FPS on it, but it was still fun. And like you've got I had like a ridiculous setup, so I obviously was just playing on the laptop screen, but then I had the biggest mouse pad, gaming mouse, and then using the laptop keyboard. Then I had a standalone mic as well, so we had this like really like over the top for no reason setup with this like laptop. But I loved it. It was great, and I was playing with like friends from back home, friends from school, and we just playing matchmaking like probably like 2014, 2015, and sort of like Gold Nova, Master Guardian level, just like trying to grind the ranks. And then I think in 2016 or early 2017, I got my first PC, gaming PC, and then still again, didn't really go into competitive. It was just more having the more FPS, just playing matchmaking, I think I was playing PUBG at that time, it came out, and
PUBG,
just other games with
game.
friends. Oh, beautiful game. But yeah, so it's certainly more casual, and I think, unfortunately he's not here because but I think Connor's the one who actually got me into competitive CS, because I remember it must have been season 27, I think it was, which is that must have been like good 3 years ago now, I think. 3.5 years ago, and he was like, "Oh, I play in this thing called ESEA, like a CS thing. Basically, one of our guys can't make it, and I think he broke his wrist, so he couldn't play either. So they were like down 2 people, and he was like, "Oh, we just need someone to like play a game or two until this guy gets back from holiday." I was like, "Sure, like if you're fine with me playing, I'll jump in, sure." And but he ended up having to play. There we go. Get there in the end. Having to play with a broken wrist, and it was like, so playing with him and another friend of ours called Earl, who's still good friends with on another UK team, and some other players. I can't remember, Habs and someone else, I think. But that was like my first experience. I played terribly. It was on Inferno. I remember my first game. We won 16-14. I went like 12-25. Like I played so bad, but I think we were down 13-12, and I was in a 1v2 and I won it. It was the worst 1v2 I've ever won, but it was like, it was still like it was like so
you
cool.
won.
Like, yeah, it was like I won, because everyone's like, nice, because obviously they're not expecting me to win, because it's like my first ever competitive Counter-Strike game. But everyone's like, nice, let's go. And I'm like, oh, this is actually so fun. And then we won the game 16-14, and that was really fun. And then I didn't get back into it because for like a couple seasons, because I didn't have anyone to team with. But then I met a few people through like playing retakes, and like joined a Discord server, and like playing with them. And one of the guys was like, "Oh, do you like fancy playing like a open season?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I think there was like 7 of us all in all, and then we're just kind of like rotating players as we're playing. People can't make it one day or the other, we just sub someone in. And I think we actually got playoffs in our first season, so that was really fun.
Just
and
a natural.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, hopefully. Let's see if we can continue the form in Ignite. But yeah, that was it really. That sort of game, I think, kind of started it all for me. Got me.
It's a very interesting way to get into the entire the realm of it. But if there is anyone watching who like wants to get in, would you have any kind of recommendations? If obviously they can't go your path, everyone can't luck out like that and just be thrown into the game. But like, would you have any idea of how anyone would be noticed or where to hang out besides the Ignite Esports Discord?
Oh, I like the plug.
Yeah, I like that. That was really good. Honestly, I don't know. Like, I think, especially if you're a UK player, playing the sort of, as much as the rep it gets sometimes, I think playing the sort of like UK circuits are really, really good because I always see sort of like mixes for qualifiers or for tournaments with just groups of players from that. So like, playing that, getting up in the levels, and then, finding other people you like or people you think are good, and then just mixing as a five, and maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't, but then you're still accumulating that experience, and then eventually you might find a five thinking, oh, actually this could work out really well. You go to ESEA, and then at that point you've got qualifier experience, you've got ESEA experience, and that's the point you're thinking, oh, I actually have experience to put on like my sort of like CV at this point, so you look more attractive to people who are looking for members for their team. So I think that's probably the best way of going about it if you're like going in as a solo person. Like, if you do, playing with a five friends is also a nice way because you're still playing in that relaxed, chill atmosphere, but you're playing competitively, and that's another nice way of going about it as well.
Cool.
So do you think people should be looking for like a like delving all the way into a certain role and be very great at one thing, or do you think they should be varied to fit in as much as possible whenever they find a team like, well, we need this role, we need that role? Do you think people should focus on being great at one thing or like a jack of all trades?
It's a good question. Like, it sort of depends as well, because I'd say no, just because you want to kind of be more jack of all trades, general type player, because you're just kind of, at that point, you're not really, what's a good way to explain this? It's like when you're playing at sort of like lower levels and don't have much experience, I think trying to do specifics for a role isn't going to improve you as quickly as just sort of learning what like good plays are and wrong plays are, in a sense. I don't know how to, that's explained poorly, but I think just playing the game and just accumulating the experience is better than trying to narrow down what you want to do, because if you do that, you're kind of then stuck, and then say, for example, you do get experience and then you want to try and transition to another role, that's like you've got to start again, in a sense. Whereas like if you just kind of raise all those base levels and then eventually thinking like, oh, actually I kind of like this role, try them after you tried them all out and thinking, oh, I want to do this, then you can go into sort of how to play as an anchor, or how to play as a rotate, or how to play as an AWPer. Well, I suppose actually that's the one exception. I suppose if you want to be a rifle and AWPer, it's probably a good thing to get down early, because you want to get like the muscle memory and the mechanics for playing as one of the two. But I think when it comes to the more tactical stuff, I think just playing the game is going to benefit you more than trying to focus on one thing.
Because I can only refer to my time playing Siege, because it's the only like real competitive shooter I've invested any significant amount of time in. And people are always like, "You're a good support," and I'm like, "Thank you," but it's because I'm too old to be a fragger. I don't have the reaction time for it, So, I think a lot of people also feel like they know what they have a knack for, but like if you're trying to be noticed, I guess it's good to know what kind of scene you're getting into and what kind of people and what they're looking for usually.
I think like I alluded to earlier when I was talking about our team's roles, it's sort of depending on what teams you're going to be playing with in the future. Like, you might think, oh, I'm really good at playing this role, but you might be really good at playing in that role because of how your teammates are playing around you. So if your teammates play differently, then some of the stuff you're doing in one team might not work in another, because you're not set up to do those kind of plays. So you kind of have to adjust your game depending on who you're playing with and how your team wants to play, because obviously there isn't just one right way of playing CS. There are, you've had the Astralis era, had the Na'Vi era, you've had the like Fnatic era, you've had 3 very different forms of Counter-Strike, all work really, really well against top level teams.
Because people are always trying to evolve and do new things and catch the other team off guard.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's like you go into the game, like you watch demos, you think, oh, this team plays like this, so maybe if I do this and change this slightly, this is going to work so much better on like a default or something. So it's just you're always going to be playing. You're never going to play like the exact same game, and I suppose that's another thing that's fun about CS. Like different things are going to work. One play might not work one day, but the next day you get 3 kills from it. So I think that's quite cool.
Nice.
Definitely. Yeah, move on. Like
Yeah, so sort of one of the sort of big things I wanted to talk to you about was sort of EpicLAN. Obviously, it was a little while ago now, but still sort of something I want to talk about. So sort of in that lead up to Epic, I understand it wasn't your first LAN. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe a lot of you have done a couple.
Yeah,
before.
so I think I think for Connor and for Dreamy, it was their first LAN, but for me, Adam and Fettis, we'd been to a couple.
Okay, yeah. So like sort of what was the preparation like leading up to that? Like sort of routines, like how much time do you put into like sort of planning, like sort of strats, that sort of thing, practices,
Probably not as good as it should have been. Our schedule for EpicLAN was awful, but we kind of had to make do with what we had. Luckily, Fettis has always had. For anyone that doesn't know, Fettis was our stand-in for the event.
We love
Yeah, we do, and luckily he's so all 5 of us are very good friends, and we are very good friends with Fettis as well. So he's always had an involvement with our team, and he helps us out a lot. He's helped me out a lot with sort of like individual stuff. Like I watch demos with him, and throughout the season he's helping me improve and stopping me from making mistakes and stuff. So it wasn't hard to transition him into Freddie's role, because not only do they play quite similar roles in general, he also knows how Freddie plays, so he can kind of mimic that with how he's playing. So in a sense, it's just having a sort of like English Freddie, ready to go, ready to go to LAN. So in that regard, it wasn't too bad, but it just kind of came down to playing a few scrims beforehand. Connor just sort of going through Fettis a couple weeks before, not a couple weeks before, but over time before the event, just saying like, oh, this is this strat, like we like to run it like this, and we throw these flashes, because obviously like people might have the same strats, but obviously there might be like slightly different things, like different flashes or different timings for things. So it's just going over the little things like that. And then I think another event which is kind of, I think we were lucky as well, because we had the official ESA official at LAN, which is I think quite lucky for us, because then it's like you're playing a LAN match, but obviously it doesn't go towards LAN, so you get the nerves out. Fetz was coaching for that one as well, so he's kind of with the team at LAN and playing the game, so I think that was quite nice to have as well.
Nice, yeah. So sort of what it was like, what was it sort of like when you got there, like sort of like what happened at the event, like sort of like outside the event as well, like sort of staying with the team and everything like that, like sort of what
I haven't been to a LAN myself. Could you like picture it for those of us who haven't been to one of those places?
Sure. Sorry, I just saw a comment in chat of talking about my dying plant that you mentioned before. So I forgot to put an event line. All right.
You can cover the plant if you want to.
Yeah, just slowly like kind of move over. Anyway, so it's EpicLAN's a kind of, it's quite a specific LAN I think as well, because unlike your Insomnia, which is coming up in April, it's a very competitive centric LAN. So you have your CS tournament, you have your Valorant tournament, you have StarCraft, you got all these different types of games, and it is just, there's not a lot going on other than the playing. So you're in a dark room, you got your computer on, you're playing games. Not
like I'm sitting at home.
Really. Yeah, it's what it is. And
just
you
at
just
home
got
with a lot of people.
Yeah, just got your teammates sitting next to you. It's like, oh, just might as well be on the sofa or something. But yeah, it's.
But is it like the full kit? Is there like a table full of microwaves for all the like micro pizzas and shit? Or is it like how does
just do a classic Uber Eats type thing? That's what we're doing. We're like, that's I think what me and the boys are doing. We just like ordering, but then we'd have to go play a game. So like giving our phone to like Ethan or to Reggie, like, oh, can you go get this when our order comes in?
It's what Ethan's good for.
Yeah.
As he said, just running outside every 2 seconds to grab someone's Mackies.
Exactly.
Sorry, got a bit of a cold, trying to get this cough out.
So while you're sort of recovering, what were like sort of some of the highlights or sort of I guess lowlights of the event, like sort of Epic?
Start with lowlights.
Yeah, maybe start with the negatives and then move on to the highlights. What's sort of your overall opinion, I guess, and sort of different situations?
Thank you for keeping the talking going while I was just getting out.
You could sneeze on your plant. It might save it, actually.
Yeah, it might do. Oh, I'll have to get some water in a minute, boys. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about
it. Lowlights and highlights. Lowlights, I think the placement itself is a bit of a low light. I don't know if people will agree with me on that, but I think my team will. I think we did underperform a little bit in that regard, even though overall I think we played quite good CS. I don't think the results were good enough, to be honest, even with a standard. I think we should have at least got a 9th to 12th finish. And I think that is the general feeling. Unlucky in the sort of seeding against Havoc. They're probably the best team to play in the first round of the lower playoffs. But again, we put ourselves in that situation by losing to a mixed team. So, you only have ourselves to blame. And that was a bad loss, that game there. That's never a game we should be losing. We did get our revenge in the Inters playoffs, but again, it doesn't matter. So
how does it work between matches for you? Do you just wipe the loss from your mind and just go for next, or how do you pick yourself up?
Yeah, it's tough actually. Sorry. You have to. My apologies.
You want to go get some water, and we'll wait for you?
All right, I'll be 30 seconds because it's just not coming up.
Sorry, I think there's an ad break running at the moment anyway, so a lot of people aren't actually available right now.
Hi, Kanzi. In chat, at least.
Let's have a look. Yeah, Matt, we'll ask that question for you.
I think you got a message on Discord as well, Blame.
I do indeed. You're
right. We do have a lot of people in chat, which is great to see.
Yeah, it's great to see so many people here, having joined us for this first episode.
Even Matt has a question, even. Maybe we can throw that.
Welcome back, Matt, for you hydrating now.
Thank you. Yeah, very sorry about it. Just still trying to get rid of the rest of this cold.
No worries, no worries.
You've timed it well with the ads that we're running, so.
Yeah.
We've had a question from the Matt Brutal as well for you.
Oh, beautiful.
Sort of while you're out, just sort of question.
The one and only.
So he's asked, how do you and the team deal with the pressure of being in a massive round difference, and how would you start to turn it around? Which I guess, sort of considering the Havoc game, that was probably quite a good question, quite sort of relevant.
It's also a very good general question for our team because we'd love to go down 6-1 on a game.
It's not Ignite without throwing a few rounds.
It's true. And I think that's sort of part of it now.
It's all part of the showmanship. We gotta throw up keep it exciting.
You guys all love watching the playoff game. I hate playing it, but you love watching it. That's for sure. No, it's kind of. I think that is part of it. Since the seasons began, we've had so many games where we have started 6-1, 7-1 down, 5-0 down, and I think now, and we've won a lot of those games. So I think it kind of comes down to we go 7-1 down, but it's no one's thinking about it because we all know that we've done it time and time again where we've come back from those massive round deficits. Even though ideally in the future we won't be having those starts, but you can't avoid them every time.
It's good to know.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's sort of one thing, and also in general, it's you're going to have those games where you try a few things, doesn't pan out. Everyone knows that. You got the next round. No one's really thinking about what happens in the previous round. There's a couple situations in TeamSpeak sometimes where people are not having an argument, but having I thought you said this, or blah blah blah, and someone else is going guys, doesn't matter, last round, we'll just go to the next one, and people just focusing on how to win that next round. I don't think it dwells in anyone's mind too much. I've made this mistake or I've made that mistake. In the game, definitely does after the game. Sure, you're going to be thinking, especially if you lose the game, you're thinking, I should have done that, I shouldn't have done this. But I think
hindsight is 20/20. Yeah,
exactly. I think in the game, you're just thinking about, okay, what can I do to win, and that's how you're going to win matches. Because if you started thinking I shouldn't, man, that's lost this round, then that's already the bad mentality, isn't it? So you just got to keep looking forward and thinking positively.
Yeah, fair enough. So sort of since Epic, obviously you guys won the Inters in the end. Sadly, not the main tournament, but what can you do? It's better to win the inters than lose the inters, isn't it?
It's true. Technically EpicLAN winners, so
we'll
take that.
That's true. So how have things sort of developed as a team since that Epic experience? Like, sort of, what have you learned from that? What have you sort of taken away from it as a team?
I think we came back a lot more confident. I think because at that point in ESCA, we weren't in a great place in the season. So before that, I think we were down 1-3. So a pretty poor start, and we had some heavy losses as well.
16-0, if I remember.
16-0. We had a 16-0 and then a 16-5 loss back to back, which is that I will tell you now.
That's a confidence boost.
Yeah, as much as I'm saying about you don't think about, the mental was down low. I think after those two games, but then we got a couple back, and I think with the official we played at LAN, we were down. We went up to 4-3, and then we came back from LAN, and then after, so the rest of the season we went 10-4, and the only map we lost was where we had to use Fetis again, so we're not even using our full roster. So since EpicLAN in ESCA, unless you're going by maps in the best of 3, we actually haven't lost a game as a 5, which is, I think, just the telling of how, we went to LAN, got the jitters out of LAN, played fairly well at LAN, not amazingly but decently, and we've come back into ESCA, just used that confidence, and we've played really, really well. Like, yeah, we've had some close matches, but I think we've closed them all out, and yeah.
Yeah, cool. What about sort of individually? Have sort of things changed for you, like personally, since sort of leaving Epic?
You mean like in terms of CS, or?
Yeah, like sort of maybe your play style, sort of your mental stuff like that.
Personally, I don't know. Maybe it's a good question.
Hard to improve when you're already awesome.
That's true. I mean, I do my best, but I think again maybe just the confidence, thinking like, because it's the first LAN in 2 years, and it is also, this is my first proper team season back after maybe like the summer of 2020. So it's been like a good year and a half for me with outside of playing Team CS. So it was kind of getting back into the swing of things of just practicing, doing individual practice, getting back into that routine. And I think going to LAN, having some good games here and there. I'd say overall I had an average performance, but it wasn't the worst feeling for me. It's not like I came back from a break and then got absolutely smacked. I came back and still played fairly decent. So I think that for me was just like a good little sign saying, if you put, you keep working on it, you keep putting the time, and like you can come back and, to the next EpicLAN maybe and play like a very good LAN. So I think that's the sort of mental I got from that. But it didn't really change anything in the sense of what I was doing. It was just kind of the sort of, maybe like a reminder in the sense of, okay, like you're on the right track kind of thing. You just need to keep going now.
No. What's the level of communication like in your team? Like, obviously you don't want to spoil how you communicate, but like, are you guys like snapping at each other, or is it friendly banter, or what's the team cohesion like, communication
Depends on
wise?
the situation. I think like I'm not going to say like we're always we're cobbing brilliantly and like we're best friends all the time. Obviously there are some games where frustration gets the better of you, and there are some like there have been a few rounds where like people are having at each other, but I don't mind that, like, because I'd rather it get sorted quickly. Like I'd rather people be like, I was doing this, and I was doing this, like, and like having a little like 20-second spat, and then be fine. Like like everyone gets the point. I'd rather that happen than it just kind of sit and brew and people dwelling on it. I'd say our comms are pretty good in that regard, in the sense of how good are they for actually like information in the game. Very hit or miss. I think we can get too excited quickly, and then so we're getting very hectic comms, and then sometimes if we're in a big deficit, sometimes they're too little, people are too silent, but at that point, sorry, okay.
No, sorry. It's just it's a very invisible part about playing in a team, because people always talk about mechanical skill and strategies and all that, but not only does the communication have to be on point in order to change your strat on the fly during a round, but also the part about like snapping at each other and then quickly pulling yourself together to go at, so it doesn't spill over into the next round. And that's a very key skill I feel like you need to have. Like, not only does the team need to get along, but it's very interesting to hear how you guys still talk and move along from either a loss or a win, like to keep it cool for the next round.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, that sort of
yeah
relationship with the team.
Because it's a mental game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, especially maybe like the last 4 or 5 games of the season, people were like, I brought it up as well because I was really impressed. Like, people were like, we were just enjoying the game. Like, people were laughing. Like, like we were, having a good time. We're playing. Like, we're still playing seriously, playing together, like calming. But like, people were just, cracking jokes, having a good time. And then if we do start losing rounds, like, we stop. Like, we focus up. Like, then we start winning again, and then we can go back to winning. Like, it was a really, really good, I think, shift, especially from the beginning of the season where we're losing heavy games and we weren't really talking too much. Now it's a very different, it's very different mental. Like, even when we're losing, like, people are still, obviously we're not laughing about the loss, but like, we're keeping, light about it, and like we're thinking like, oh, it's all right, we'll get the next run sort of thing, and which is really good as well to have, because like you're saying, if you're getting into the mental, oh, we've lost another round, oh, we've lost another one, we really need to win a round now, like you're gonna not think straight with your plays, and I think that's why you just have to keep as content as you can in a game like that. Yeah.
So sort of since Epic, you sort of briefly mentioned sort of how the team had sort of changed since, like sort of mentalities, that sort of thing. Like, has sort of goals or anything, or like sort of like short-term, long-term targets changed, anything like that?
In a sense, yes, because I feel with the performance at EpicLAN and with our performance at the beginning of the season, we kind of did have to change. I don't think we were actually expecting to make main anymore after that, because we had a very poor schedule before at the beginning of the season, reflected in our play. We were playing very badly, and I think at the end of that we were thinking, like, okay, let's just end the season strong, and if we don't make main, not the end of the world. Like, we'll have a lot of practice time. We can iron out all the kinks, and the next season it'll be a breeze. Yeah. In the end, we've actually gone back to our original goal, which was, have a strong ESEA season, 10-4, which we all said at the beginning was the bare minimum of what we wanted to achieve. I think ideally we would want a 12-2, which we could have got, but we lost 2 games we shouldn't have. 2 games we did get smacked, and we can't really do anything about those. But so we did that, we achieved that, and then we've actually gone and made main as well. So I think at the end of the day, it's actually been a pretty successful season for us. And I think that does change things in the sense of, instead of thinking, play the slow game now and, make main next season, like we've already made it. Yeah. But at the same time, we can't be too conceited. I don't think we can have that same attitude going into next season of like, we're just going to go walk, breeze across main and make advance, because that's most likely not going to be the case. We're going to have to, put a lot more time and put a lot more effort, because we're playing at a higher skill level now. And yeah, hopefully I'll still have a strong season. I don't think any of us expecting us to, make advance from our first season, maybe not even make playoffs from our first season. But I think as long as we, get those 6-7 wins, have a good strong showing, I think we'll be pretty, impressed with that.
Nice.
You want to take some of the questions from chat, Blake?
Yes. Yeah. So you sort of led on to ESEA a bit there. We've had sort of a couple of questions from Matt, sort of about that sort of thing. Sort of one of the questions, you can sort of mention it briefly now. We'll probably come on to it a bit later again. But sort of that final game for main on Thursday, was it? Sort of what was sort of the vibe and sort of like team sort of I guess like mental, like sort of after that sort of map loss in that sort of final best of 3?
To be honest, it was pretty good, the environment, because we this is gonna like we were thinking we were gonna go and win, but the only Mirage experience we had as a five was a 40-minute scrim we played just before the game. It's not a map we play, and it's not a map we plan to play. So it was just kind of, we'll go in. We think we could win, out aim them. We didn't out aim them. Oh well, it wasn't the end of the world at all, because we knew going into Vertigo and Ancient that we were the better team by looking from their demos. And although they made it very, very close, and they had some insane rounds. That
Ancient
Vivo
was a
team.
close match as well.
Yeah, and the Deagles shots they hit were just incredible. Like there was that one round of Vertigo, I remember they just owned everyone. We were just like, fair. Like, it was
Just, you know what?
you do. Yeah.
I respect that.
And yeah, but again, and we could have closed that Vertigo so much easier. We just, we started playing scared because they were hitting some nice shots, and we had to close. We did end up closing it out, but it could have been a 16-9 easy.
Yeah.
And then Ancient perhaps wouldn't have been so difficult because, if we were already going in, we're thinking, oh, we've just beaten these guys 16-8, 16-9.
Yeah, good momentum.
Probably going a lot more confident. Yeah. But I think after the Mirage, no one was feeling down, or I think we were still feeling we were going to win.
Yeah.
Because, we're just not a map we play, and no one was too disheartened when we lost it.
Nice. So it's sort of going backwards a little bit, but sort of myself personally, possibly some sort of others in chat aren't sort of all too familiar with ESEA, so I wonder if you could sort of break down sort of what the different tiers were and sort of how it worked and stuff.
So you have sort of entry level, which is open to everyone. You can just sign up, you can play, which is ESEA Open. It's usually a huge amount of teams. It never used to be so many. It used to be around the 350, 400 mark, but I think ever since COVID, there was like this one mega season that had like 800 teams or something.
Everyone's a pro now, though. Yeah. Everyone's locked in now. Everyone's a pro. Like
everyone's just got nothing to do. It's let's play ESEA Open for 3 months. So that's like the base level, and then above that is what we were playing in this season, which is still playing. We still got the rest of the playoff games. ESEA Intermediate. So I think with the amount of teams now, I think it's top 128 teams from Open make Inters, which join, I don't know how many teams. I think it ends up being around 200 teams in Intermediate.
Okay.
And then, so 64 teams make playoffs in Intermediate, and then the top 32 from that make ESEA Main, which is what we qualified to. No. Which joins, I think it's a bit less, but not too much. I think it's now about 150 teams, 140 teams.
Obviously you're going to win, but it's got to feel pretty great to have qualified.
Yeah, it's nice, especially for me and Adam. It's our first season in ESEA Main, so it's a really nice achievement for me and him personally. Like we mentioned earlier, I think off stream was Fred and Dream both played together in Main before. Fred's obviously played for Lucent. He's got quite a few seasons in Main. And Connor as well has had a season in Main with some other players. So yeah, we can all say we've all got the Main experience. Well, we will do next season. I haven't played it yet, Matt. I'm looking forward to it. It'd be good to see, if I can continue to perform in, at a high level. And
do you sleep anything the night before? Are you rested? Do you eat? Are you nauseous, anxious?
For games?
Yeah.
I don't know.
When there's a lot online, so to speak.
Yeah. I know Adam has a little routine he does. He always has a shower before we go into a game, like a little quick 5-minute shower, just to rid the body of anything. I usually I'm trying to think. Do I have any little routines or? I always
lock off and on for 10 minutes.
I think I always do feel a little bit nervous. Not like to the thick to the bone, but I think I always I want to perform. I don't want to go in and have a stinker of a game. But I think that sort of anxiousness is a good thing. Like, you want to go in if you go in without a care in the world, like chances are you aren't going to be thinking too much about what you're doing. You're not caring. Yeah. But I think I got a bit nervous. I always have a cup of tea when I play, especially if I'm at home. Always have one of those. I'm sipping that when I'm dead.
What kind? What brand? What kind? What
Just
flavor?
Standard English PG tips.
Classic.
That's the one English trait I suppose I've picked up is I'm a big tea drinker. Milk. Oh.
Fair.
A bit of tea. Yeah, I always have a cup of tea when I play. But yeah.
We've had another question from Matt as well, actually.
That's coming with questions.
Matt can always count on Matt. So sort of with ESE in main, sort of how do you think the team will sort of fare in sort of main and everything?
Okay, gonna win the whole thing.
Correct.
No,
let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. Realistically, like I said before, I think it will be I think we'll definitely keep the spot, and I think we'll win a few more games. I think we can get close to getting playoffs. And I think that's a sort of bare minimum is a sort of like a 6-7 win if we're talking about expectations. I think a good goal is making playoffs. I think that's achievable. Not a given, but I think it's certainly achievable. I think advancing to advance will be a big challenge, and I don't think that will be something we'll do in our first season. But of course, nothing's out of reach. Like anything can happen. Yeah. But I think if we're speaking realistically, I think playoffs as a goal, bare minimum, obviously, sort of like a 6-7 win season.
Yeah, nice.
Are there any other teams that you're like looking up to that you feel are like, oh, I can't wait to? I hope I get to face off against these guys, or I hope to catch them off game to talk, or like, do you have any people that any teams that you're looking forward to meeting?
Of course, I could probably, a lot of the other UK teams because, you face them a lot in qualifiers and things like that. So it's nice to be able to be in the same league as a lot of the, the better teams. I think Ace5 or ex-Ace5 now, I suppose, is one team just because we have, quite good friends, quite close. So being able to be in the same league as them is quite nice. And it'd be a good chance to play them because a lot of the UK teams is who you play in practice and play in scrims as well. So playing them in a competitive environment would be, quite good.
It's a nice rivalry.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
But other than that, other than just saying that sort of the UK teams, I don't really know many of the teams in main outside of the UK ones, so there's not much I can say on that.
Focus on the ones that are in your crosshair then.
Yeah, exactly. Just take every game as it comes, and hopefully we just get a W on each time.
Yeah, nice. So you mentioned it briefly when you're sort of explaining like the whole of ESEA. So sort of how many teams are in main? Sort of how many games do you play in a season?
So every season you play 14 games.
Okay.
In the regular season. It used to be 16, but they changed it when they made it so there's 4 leagues a year, or 4 seasons a year, sorry.
Right.
So now you play 14 games in regular season. And so that usually means an 8-6 record with a good round difference. High round win gets you playoffs. And then a 9-5 record is guaranteed playoffs. And then you play... Depends on which league you're in. Because I think you play like a good 5-6 games in playoffs. To win, that is. Usually just to qualify, it's just the one win. At least for open and intermediate. For main, for advanced, I think you've got to win. I think you have to go 3-1 minimum. Because main playoffs and above are double bracket, whereas open and intermediate are single bracket.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So yeah, you play quite a few games, I think, but it's spread out nicely. Playing the 2 games a week generally is nice because it gives you time, obviously, to practice, and then you've still got time to play other leagues, and yeah, it's good.
Cool. Do you have sort of anything you wanted to ask Badger?
Not right now. I feel like I've been harassing him plenty.
Go for it. That's what I came on for. Pick my brain. I love the idea.
That's why he's here. Did we have any more questions from chat? Matt, did you have anything more you wanted to ask? Anything like that? Or did you have anything you wanted to ask us, Matt? I didn't prep Badger for this.
Oh,
exactly.
Did you want to ask us anything?
I don't know. I don't know. That's too much for me.
Can't cope with that.
No, that's too much pressure.
We do have the icebreaker questions still.
That's true, actually. I could still ask you them. I forgot about them. What was I going to ask you? Yeah, if you could be any video game character, who would you be and why?
Video game character?
Yeah.
Ooh. That's actually hard. what I know. I'm a massive, so I study ancient history, and I'm a big history nerd, just in general. I just love the history. So any sort of TV show I watch or game I play usually has some sort of historical context. So one of my favorite games outside playing CS is a game called Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is a game set in Bohemia in the 1300s. And if I could be a character from that, I would probably be the protagonist, which is a guy called Henry, who's he's the bastard son of a lord. But at the beginning of the game, you are a son of a blacksmith, and I think he has a pretty cool journey. So I'd say him.
Fair.
Very interesting. Yeah.
I've got another one that I was going to ask Connor as well, but obviously Connor's not here, so I'm going to ask you as well. If you were any breed of dog, what breed of dog would you want to be?
Oh, I don't know. Can I do cats instead? Because I don't really like dogs.
Yeah, fine.
I'm a cat person. Actually, I don't really know what breeds are either. I can describe it to you.
Go on. Describe your dream cat.
I don't know what it is, but the one that's maybe just like a. Actually, take it back. I do know, just like a really cool like tabby. Like my sister's got a really nice tabby cat, and he's like really chill and as a cat life. I think.
Do you identify as chill?
Yeah, I say I'm quite synonymous with a cat. Wake up, eat, go back to bed, wake up, just walk around a bit, see what's going on, checking out things, go back to sleep a bit, wake up, eat. Yeah.
These cats really live in that kind of life, right? Like they wake up, they eat a bit, they sleep, they get like, okay, adore me for a while, I'm here, okay, I'm going back to bed.
Yeah.
They live at their own pace, and I fully respect that.
We have had another question as well. What's there more of, wheels or doors?
Wheels or doors? What is this? I don't know. I don't follow with any sort of.
I don't know where it started. I saw it on TikTok one day, and it's exploded since.
Just what are more wheels and doors in the world? I don't know. Because I suppose like really specific like wheels and doors also count because they are technically wheels. I'd go with like. Because you know it's like when the wheel was created was like thousands of years ago. Would the door have been created first? Like, would they not have had doors? Because I'd probably go for that logic. Like, which one got created first?
I mean, it depends on how you would define a door. Would you define it as like a construct with hinges, or would you define it as just something to block an entrance? Or
yeah, I think I might go with door, just because I feel like it probably came about before the wheel.
Well, it's just the wrong answer, though, isn't it? Such a stupid question. It's obviously wheels. I mean, like, look at factories, look at conveyor belts, they're full of wheels.
Yeah, true. But I imagine they probably have quite a few doors in there as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But then look at a conveyor belt, that's just made up of hundreds of wheels. And Lego, they produce a lot of wheels.
Then again, I feel like Matt Brutal seems to always find a door out of any org he's in, so he's found a lot of doors, so there's got to be a lot of doors. Because he finds his way in and out all the time. Somehow.
Woke up and smoked this morning. Oh no.
Badger woke up and chose violence this morning.
He did.
Every day.
We've had one more question as well. Who was the worst teammate you ever had? Time to out someone.
Worst teammate I ever had? Oh, it's gotta be that Fred guy. No, I'm joking.
Oh yeah, no, I've heard of him.
Go after the Swede. Do it.
Yeah, it's always Fred, man. Nah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever. I'm gonna take the coward's route. I don't think I've ever had a sort of bad teammate because I don't think I'd ever put myself in a scenario to be with a bad teammate. I feel like I'm quite a good judge of character. So if I'm playing a trial game with someone, I'm thinking, I don't want to play with you. I just wouldn't.
Put it this way then: what constitutes a bad teammate, in your opinion?
No, that's
that is a good question, actually. I think there are two main things that would be like red flags, I suppose. One, somebody who can't take criticism, because you have to be very you have to be able to give and take criticism, fluidly. And if you can do that, you're already at a good start because you want to improve others and you're willing to be improved. So it's a win-win scenario. And I think the second thing is just what's a good way of wording this? Sort of just being, just not being like getting frustrated is fine, but getting, I think, angry at a loss is a very poor reaction to have to to losing, because
Yeah.
I think there is no need for anger in losing a game. I think frustration and annoyance is very good, because obviously you want to win games and you want to improve. But I think if someone gets angry, that can just, especially in game, that can, have really negative effects on other people. Like, they might make them play worse, or it might get them angry, and it's just never a good recipe for winning. So I think those are the two sort of factors that you've got to look out for. Like, if someone can't take criticism and they get angry easily, probably not the best person to have as a teammate.
Yeah, no, I would say the same thing. I used to coach Siege, and I would have said almost exactly what you did. Two of the biggest things: can someone sort of take criticism, give criticism, and take that on board, sort of learn from that, and then sort of, as you mentioned as well, just sort of like the attitude towards it, like the positive attitude.
Well, do you? I mean, we're moving towards the end, I feel like, slowly and surely, because the questions are getting more and more ridiculous. But do you have any socials or anything that you want to plug while you're on?
Yeah.
Are we gonna receive any like updates on the plant? Does it have a name? Health status?
I mean, I think I have to say, I think probably the best question is, like, did it have a name? Not does it? It's probably beyond saving at this point.
It doesn't even have a name.
Yeah, I suppose that shows you how
worse.
much. I suppose it shows you how much I care about it. But yeah, no, we shall see. I'm usually a big part of it as well. I just forgot. It's because I don't know. I went to Leeds for a weekend, and here I am. Part's gone. Anyway, I think, what are my socials? I think mattpecsi, mattpecsi, for my Twitch and my Twitter, because I think now that it's the off season, hopefully going to be streaming, whether it's CS or my coursework is done, Elden Ring, finally. I need to get into that.
Nice. I've been looking at that. I'm kind of curious. I haven't played Dark Souls. I always wanted to.
Yeah.
And then everyone's talking about Elden Ring, and I'm like, kind of do. And then we have Apex as well, which is kind of curious.
I played it a bit.
I quite enjoy some Apex.
Yeah, I played a bit.
I have it installed, but I don't have anyone to play with most times. Like I'm supposed to play with Matt a little bit and Dom, but I never get around to it.
Yeah.
I like how fast paced it is compared to other battle royale games, because it's like 20 minutes and I'm done. Like, where it's like for PUBG, sometimes like 40-minute games. It's like, I don't have
20 minutes in PUBG, you've only placed like 30th.
Yeah,
it's a good like ADHD stimulant. Like, you can just get on and do your stuff for a while, and then you're out.
Yeah,
fine. Just go on and sprint.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, Matt. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
No worries. Glad I could jump on.
Yeah, it's been really
great pleasure.
Learned a lot as well.
Thank you so much. Definitely.
So yeah, thank you for that, Matt. And hopefully, we might have you on again. Maybe,
sure.
Maybe when
if you win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
At the end of May, or when you win the next Epic, we'll have you on then.
Oh, it'd be beautiful. Maybe we can actually get Connor on with a functioning webcam and headset. That'd be great as well.
That would be great. Yeah, I'm actually kind of depressed about that. I wanted to ask him some questions too.
I was gonna say he'd be a good brain to pick as the IGL when you can get him on, because he'd have some better answers to tactical stuff than me.
Yeah,
we'll get it next time.
Try and get the whole team on as well.
That would be chaos. I don't know if you want that. That'd be awful. If you have Fred, Dream, and Connor in the same call, I don't know.
We'll let you decide who we're not bringing on. Then you can send us a list of people not to invite.
To be honest, I think me or Adam is probably your best ambassador to the CS team. I think anyone else, you're playing with fire.
You heard it here first, folks. But yeah, thank you for joining us, Matt. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. So yeah, any last thing you wanted to say before I cut you away? I
don't know. Pets is bad, something like that.
You heard it here first.
Anyway,
we'll see you later, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah, see you later.
Cheers.
Take care. Well,
so yeah, that was Matt.
That was great.
The greatest Australian we've ever met.
Yeah, and Hungarian and Croatian and British person, apparently.
Insert every other nationality. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a good episode. Thank you everyone for stopping by and chat. Thank you for all the questions as well, Matt. It's really interesting questions you had to ask as well.
Time flies, definitely.
Absolutely. It's been a good time. So yeah, if anyone had sort of any feedback or any sort of questions, anything like that, I've just been outed. That's really rude. The worst part is I don't even know who it is. I've just been told to shut up. But yeah. If anything you'd like to see, sort of any guests you'd like us to bring on, just let us know. You can message me or Badger on Twitter, or even we'll find out that way. Anyone you'd like to see us talk to, any sort of general topics, maybe, whatever it might be, just let us know. And we'll be happy to sort of take a look at them. Follow the
as well,
Twitter. You can see the Twitter in the channel at the moment. Obviously, drop us a follow on Twitch, and even subscribe if you've got a Prime. All of our socials, there you go. The
Ignite Prime.
Exactly. Our socials aren't working.
Doesn't seem like
socials, guys. But yeah, drop us a follow if you haven't already. It's been a pleasure doing this with you, Badger. It's been a great first episode. Anything?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
End with?
No, I've had a lot of fun, and time flew by a lot faster than I thought it would. I've always been kind of chill. I wasn't really nervous, but things just kind of went on a roll. It was kind of sad to lose one of the guests, but we'll get him on next time, I hope.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get Connor on again. Yeah,
and good discussions, good questions, good answers. Definitely. Very interesting. Learned a lot. Definitely.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, so our next episode will probably be, I think, at the end of April. So I think it'll either be the 23rd or the 30th of April. But obviously, we'll have a tweet.
Hang around.
We'll have a tweet.
Yeah, hang around.
So
the socials should have all the info.
That'll be clear. So yeah.
Why so long? It takes a long time to make perfection.
It's a lot of exactly.
It's a lot of
effort to perfect everything.
Exactly.
Cool.
The Isle of Wight. Well done.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming along. It's been great to see you all, and it's been great to chat with Matt as well, as I mentioned. So, we will catch you all next time.
Yeah. Peace out.
Taking control.